Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about the River Song story, Whodunnit by Matt Fitton. Oh look, there's me, in the reflection of the camera. And this is a DVD cover, like I always do with these. Not the best, the hat is kind of cropped into the corner there. That's the spine if you're interested, and the back, pretty cool. There you go. So, after the cliffhanger from the second story in volume 4, to which this story is the third in the fourth volume, which continues a story arc. The box set has a story arc in it for each story. In the last time we seen River Song, she was almost at the point of death, and Dysphoria are going to track her down as deadly as possible. And this story is one of those kind of stories that you get a lot in the story arc, where the first half of the story seems like it's doing something completely different, and then it all ties back into the main event halfway through. So this story sees River take on her alter ego, Melanie Monroe, a detective in 1920s New York, but here she's in London, I believe, and she is being asked to arrive at this castle with these other detectives, and in one of the rooms she meets, what's his name? Franz Kharkov, a famous writer during the 1920s, although he wasn't a big writer when he was alive. It was only until after he died. He's a real person, by the way. So this could be a sort of historic adventure. And the first scene we see completely forgets about the last two stories, as we see River knocking on the door in the rain, and she demands that she's getting help. Now, the first notion is, with it being River, is that she's trying to trick someone. But no, slowly you start realising that she does believe the story at the start, in which her husband, the doctor, was with her travelling to this castle, as they've all got envelopes with details on how to meet them there and stuff. However, something happened when arriving, and the doctor, River Song, believed that he was killed, only for when she got somebody, Kharkov, to come to help, the doctor's body and the car was nowhere to be seen, which sets up a mystery, as Kharkov also was aware of a murder recently. So there's a serial killer on the loose, and River then meets a few people in the house, other people who've been invited to the house, and she tries to work out what's going on, and something doesn't feel right. And I thought going into this I might really like this one, because it does very little to do to begin with the main event. But I found this aspect of the story really a bit dull and contrived. It seems like, I think the point is that it hits all the cliches in the book. Before someone even gets information out, they die. People just won't say information that they know until the very end. And even River seems to be annoyed with the situation at hand. And it was the first half of this was a bit of a drag, and I wasn't really feeling these new characters. According to Wikipedia, they were based off famous detectives like Velma from Scooby-Doo and Pyro from Agatha Christie's novels. and it does play along like that, and everybody's a suspect and stuff, and it is kind of fun, but you're never interested in any of the characters. You feel like any of them could be the suspect, and if any of them were revealed to be the suspect, you just shrug and it's like, I don't really care. Like, there was no one really, I would have been like, oh no, not him. I wanted him to be the hero, or, you get me? Like, everybody was kind of on the same page in terms of interest. So when anyone got revealed, it was a bit lackluster. However, the story takes a massive turn halfway, and I started to pick up my enjoyment when it gets focused on not really the dysphoria elements, but rather it's just being absolutely strange as somebody kills himself after, he tries to kill himself after he found the prize, this letter they work out as a prize in the castle, and whoever gets it, gets it. But this person, he found it, but when he found it, he basically couldn't handle it, and he wanted to end it, and he basically is like, I used to live for my ego, I used to want money and power, but now I just don't want anything, and I just want to end it all. And that was really interesting. Too bad it's like 2/3 into the story, but it does get pretty interesting after that, as a lot of things just happen. There's a lot of detail in this story. Riversong originally believes that her and Kufkoff are the only real characters. She starts believing it's a dream, a fictional event, to which she is sort of right. But who's setting this all up, on how and why they're all doing this is a mystery, on why Riversong and Kufkoff out of everybody on the world. And Riversong seems to have lost her memories, as she doesn't know why she's there, and she can't remember which incarnation of the Doctor she was with, and everybody starts pointing fingers at each other, and one character, the Velma character, she dies, and her body goes missing, and Riversong is trying to work out what's going on, and she originally thinks that Kufkoff is the one, because he's the only other real person, and there's a staircase going down that leads to every room in the building. However, another character, I can't remember his name, he gets caught up in all this, and he basically becomes a suspect. And Kufkoff, he basically explains that he's writing the story, he's creating the story, but Riversong has to figure out herself, to which River kind of does. So it reminds me a lot of basically the Land of Fiction from The Mind Robber. It's got that kind of fairy tale-ish elements, and later on, when Riversong really puts it together that this is a fictional event, she gets transported into a trial in which she has murdered millions without any regard, and it does get to River a bit. She kind of defends herself, but she still slowly starts believing in it, until Kufkoff comes in and it's like, River, this isn't real. None of this is real. Neither is this bit. And then other stuff happens, and she finds the TARDIS, and her memories start coming back, in which she discovers that she actually, spoiler warning, she actually created a fictional event in history using the TARDIS telepathic circuits, and she put this world in the mind of Kufkoff, a creative German writer, and so she planned all this to trap the Dysphoria, who later on do come into the story. not Malik, another one, a different one, a new one who I can't remember if he's named. But yeah, still have the problem with the Discoria. They're just not, the acting for them is just not, how would I put it? It's not, just something about them is just a bit too basic in terms of their atmosphere and their presence. There's just something that just doesn't work for me. But I digress. So River slowly starts putting together that she created this, and she is creating work, but something is happening, something's tampering with this, which is destroying this world. A hooded figure, and she believes originally it's herself, maybe a past or future version, who's worked out what she's doing and realizes that there's a lot of danger of escaping, and so the world starts falling apart. And River Song goes inside a TARDIS to go to into the real world, into Karkoff's, and we find out that not only did River send his mind, this world into his mind, was sending Discoria and herself into the mind of this person, but also Kufkoff is an old man. He's dying. He's in the moment of his death, and it turns out River's plan was actually to trap the Discoria in his mind, and then when he passes away, then it would kill all the Discoria. Yeah, I don't know how that works with the Discoria's powers, but there you go. And the River has a conversation with Kufkoff, like a mental projection of him, an astral projection, and he explains that this man, the Doctor, the hooded figure, he actually saved River. He actually broke it apart, and River gets really angry as the Doctor basically messed up her plan, and the Discoria are free still to ruin the Doctor's life. So yeah, it just goes really wild and mad, out of hand, this story does, and I really was enjoying it. I don't think it's particularly great. I think throughout the story is really weak. There are some great moments with River and Kufkoff when they're talking about like philosophy, but it never really amounts to anything in the story apart from the fact that the questions of whether something is real and fantasy, but it never becomes a main focal point of the story. The main focus is mainly on this mystery, and a very generic one at that. Yeah, and the story also ends on a cliffhanger in which the Discoria are talking to each other, and they're like, River Song is had the last of it. We are going to basically change everything in her timeline, kill all of her allies, destroy everything in her life. And one of them is like, should we alert the leader, the Emperor, of such a big change to the timeline? And the other one is like, yes, we should. And that's how our story ends. So, Whodunnit? Is it any good? I don't think so. It's a very weak story. It has very little to say. Only the second half is really interesting, when it goes all crazy and plot mad. And the characters at the start are very generic and very boring, and you're just waiting for River Song to work it out, but not in a good way. You're just like looking at your clock, waiting, come on, wait for it. So yeah, Whodunnit? Not a very particularly great story, but on the bright side, the next River Song story is when she meets the Fourth Doctor, which is why I bought this bloody box set. So there you go, that's Whodunnit. So join me next time where the Doctor and Sarah reawaken a giant half man, half woman stone creature god thing, and the Doctor has to say goodbye to one of his most faithful friends, his best friend. So join me next time in The Hand of Fear. See you then on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta.